Before we begin, think about this. Have you ever watched someone be judged, dismissed, or underestimated simply because they didn't fit other people's expectations? And if you had the power to stand beside them when everyone else walked away, would you? Share your thoughts in the comments. From the outside, Ethan Caldwell looked like a man living a perfect life. At 38 years old, he was the billionaire CEO of Caldwell Technologies, one of the fastest-growing companies in the country. His face appeared on magazine covers. Business schools taught case studies about his leadership. Investors trusted him. Employees admired him. The media called him a visionary. Yet every night, Ethan returned to a penthouse overlooking the city skyline and sat alone. The silence always felt louder than the applause. The luxurious apartment had everything money could buy. But it lacked the one thing he secretly wanted most. Connection. Real connection. Not admiration. Not status. Not networking opportunities disguised as friendships. Just honesty. Years earlier, Ethan had been engaged. He believed he had found someone who loved him. Then he discovered she loved the lifestyle far more than she loved him. The breakup left scars he never discussed publicly. After that, he buried himself in work. If loneliness knocked on the door, he answered with longer office hours. If sadness appeared, he chased another business acquisition. If doubt emerged, he worked harder. His company grew. His wealth multiplied. His emotional world shrank. At board meetings, Ethan appeared calm and confident. Inside, he often wondered if anyone truly saw him. Or if they only saw the billionaire. One evening, after another 12-hour day, Ethan stared through the glass walls of his office. The city sparkled below. Millions of lives moving through the darkness. Yet he felt strangely disconnected from all of them. His assistant entered quietly. "You're still here?" Ethan smiled. "So are you." She laughed. "Difference is, I have somewhere to go." The words lingered after she left. I have somewhere to go. Ethan wasn't sure he did. And he had no idea that everything was about to change. Across the city lived Maya Brooks. At 34 years old, Maya's life looked nothing like Ethan's. She wasn't wealthy. She wasn't famous. She wasn't trying to become either. She worked as the director of a nonprofit organization that helped underserved students gain access to technology and educational opportunities. Every day, she fought battles most people never saw. Funding shortages. Broken systems. Children with enormous potential but limited resources. Yet she loved her work. Because every success story reminded her why she started. Maya had grown up in a working-class neighborhood. Her mother worked multiple jobs. Her father passed away when she was young. Nothing came easily. Everything required effort. Everything required perseverance. She learned early that dignity didn't come from money. It came from character. People often underestimated her. Sometimes because she was a woman. Sometimes because she was black. Sometimes because of both. But Maya never built her identity around other people's opinions. She built it around her values. Integrity. Compassion. Courage. Self-respect. Those principles guided every decision she made. Including her romantic life. Years earlier, Maya had been in a relationship with a man who constantly made her feel like she needed to prove her worth. She eventually walked away. Not because she stopped loving him. Because she started loving herself more. Since then, she had become comfortable being alone. Not lonely. Just independent. She believed that if love arrived someday, it should add to her life rather than complete it. One Saturday morning, Maya stood in a community center helping students assemble donated laptops. A young girl approached her. "Miss Brooks?" Maya smiled. "Yes? How do you know if you're smart enough to do something important?" Maya knelt beside her. You don't wait until you're sure. The girl looked confused. You don't? No. You work hard. You learn. You keep going. Eventually, confidence catches up. The child smiled. And in that moment, Maya felt richer than many people with millions in their bank accounts. She had purpose. She had meaning. What she didn't know was that fate was preparing an unexpected introduction. Weeks passed. Ethan and Maya continued living completely different lives. He attended investor meetings. She attended community meetings. He negotiated billion-dollar deals. She negotiated nonprofit grants. He moved through elite social circles. She spent weekends mentoring teenagers. Their worlds seemed impossible to connect. Yet both carried similar wounds. Both knew disappointment. Both understood loneliness. Both wanted authenticity. Neither expected to find it. Then an opportunity emerged. A citywide initiative aimed at expanding technology access in disadvantaged communities. Caldwell Technologies was considering a major partnership. Maya's nonprofit was one of the organizations under review. Ethan planned to attend the evaluation meeting personally. Not because he had to. Because something about the project interested him. For once, the conversation wasn't about profits. It was about impact. The meeting was scheduled for Thursday morning. Neither Ethan nor Maya knew that one conversation would alter the course of their lives. The conference room buzzed with activity. Representatives from multiple organizations presented proposals. Most focused heavily on statistics. Budgets. Numbers. Forecasts. Then Maya stood. The room quieted. She didn't begin with charts. She began with a story. She spoke about a student who shared a single computer with 3 siblings. A student who completed homework from a phone because there was no laptop available. A student whose future changed after gaining access to proper resources. Her voice was calm. Confident. Authentic. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. She was simply telling the truth. Ethan found himself paying closer attention. Not because she was speaking dramatically. Because she wasn't. There was conviction in her words. A quiet strength. When the presentation ended, questions followed. One executive challenged her. Your goals seem ambitious. Maya nodded. They are. Some would say unrealistic. She smiled politely. People said the same thing about every major improvement that's ever happened. Several attendees shifted uncomfortably. Ethan leaned forward. For the first time that morning, he spoke. What would success look like 5 years from now? Maya answered immediately. Students having opportunities equal to their potential. No rehearsed corporate language. No buzzwords. Just clarity. For reasons he couldn't explain, Ethan felt impressed. After the meeting, he approached her. Your presentation was different. Maya raised an eyebrow. Different good or different bad? He laughed. Good. Then thank you. There was no nervousness in her voice. No fascination with his status. No attempt to impress him. Just genuine conversation. For perhaps the first time in years, Ethan met someone who treated him like an ordinary person. And he liked it. A lot. Their professional interactions increased. Meetings became discussions. Discussions became conversations. Conversations became something neither expected. Friendship. One afternoon, they met at a neighborhood community center. Ethan arrived in an expensive suit. Children immediately surrounded him. Maya laughed. They don't care how much your company is worth. I noticed. They just want someone to help fix the Wi-Fi. For the next hour, Ethan found himself troubleshooting computers instead of discussing corporate strategy. Oddly enough, he enjoyed it. Afterward, they sat outside on a bench. The sun was beginning to set. You seem different here, Maya said. Ethan looked surprised. Different how? Less guarded. He considered her words. Most people saw the CEO. Maya noticed the man underneath. Maybe I am. For a moment, silence settled between them. Comfortable silence. The kind that doesn't require filling. Then Maya asked a question nobody had asked in years. Are you happy? Ethan stared toward the horizon. The answer should have been simple. Yet it wasn't. I don't know. Maya didn't rush to respond. She simply listened. And somehow, that mattered more than advice ever could. Months passed. The partnership flourished. So did their connection. They shared stories. Dreams. Failures. Lessons. Neither rushed anything. Trust formed gradually. Naturally. One evening, they walked through a city park after an event. The air felt cool. Streetlights glowed softly overhead. Maya spoke about her father. Ethan spoke about his broken engagement. For the first time, he admitted how deeply it affected him. I started believing people only wanted access to my life. Maya looked at him. That's a painful thing to carry. It changes how you see everyone. She nodded. I can understand that. Can you? People make assumptions about me too. Their eyes met. Different experiences. Same loneliness. Something shifted that night. Not dramatically. Quietly. The strongest connections often do. And somewhere deep inside, Ethan realized he was falling in love. Not everyone welcomed the relationship. At first, rumors circulated quietly. Then openly. Some members of Ethan's social circle reacted with disbelief. Others with judgment. A few with outright prejudice. At a private gathering, one executive smirked. So that's who he's spending time with? Another laughed. Interesting choice. The comments grew worse. Subtle insults. Dismissive jokes. Questions disguised as concern. Are you sure this relationship fits your image? Think about your investors. Think about public perception. Some criticisms focused on social class. Others focused on race. None of them reflected the values Ethan believed in. Yet the pressure increased. Meanwhile, Maya faced criticism too. People questioned Ethan's motives. Accused him of seeking attention. Assumed she was benefiting financially. Neither accusation was true. But assumptions rarely wait for facts. One evening, Maya sat alone after reading yet another cruel article online. The comments hurt. Not because strangers knew her. Because they didn't. A knock sounded at her door. Ethan stood outside. Concern filled his face. You saw it? She nodded. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Ethan said quietly. I'm sorry. Maya looked at him. You didn't write it. No. But you're dealing with it because of me. She considered that. Then shook her head. No. I'm dealing with it because some people fear what they don't understand. Ethan's respect for her grew even deeper. But the storm was only beginning. The relationship became public. Media attention exploded. Business analysts discussed it. Social commentators debated it. Social media amplified every opinion. Supporters celebrated. Critics attacked. Ethan's board members grew nervous. Not because of performance. The company was thriving. Because controversy made them uncomfortable. One board member requested a private meeting. Ethan, perception matters. It does. Then perhaps you should consider distancing yourself. Ethan's expression hardened. From who? The man hesitated. You know what I mean. Ethan did. And he hated it. For years, he had built a company around innovation, inclusion, and integrity. Now some people expected him to abandon those values because they suddenly became inconvenient. Meanwhile, Maya received invitations to interviews. Most wanted drama, conflict, scandal. She declined them all. She refused to turn her relationship into entertainment. Still, the attacks continued. Friends warned her. Family worried about her. Some feared Ethan would eventually choose public approval over love. Even Maya occasionally wondered. Not because she doubted his feelings. Because she understood how powerful social pressure can become. And every day, that pressure intensified. The breaking point arrived during a major company event. Thousands attended. Investors, executives, media outlets, industry leaders. Backstage, Ethan received a warning. A prominent investor threatened to withdraw support if the controversy surrounding his personal life continued. Several board members encouraged compromise. Stay quiet. Avoid appearances together. Protect the company's image. Protect the stock price. Protect the brand. The message was clear. Choose acceptance. Or choose Maya. Hours later, Ethan stood behind the stage curtain. The crowd waited. Reporters prepared questions. His phone buzzed. A message from Maya. Whatever happens tonight, make the decision you can live with. No pressure. No demands. Just trust. Ethan stared at the screen. Then closed his eyes. For years, he had pursued success. Built wealth. Earned influence. But what was the purpose of any of it if fear dictated his choices? What was leadership if it disappeared the moment courage became necessary? The answer felt obvious. He walked onto the stage. And everything changed. The audience erupted into applause. Ethan approached the podium. He delivered the first portion of his speech normally. Business growth. Future plans. Innovation. Then he paused. The room quieted. Everyone sensed something different. Ethan looked across the crowd. Then directly toward the cameras. For most of my career, people have asked what makes a strong leader. Silence filled the room. A strong leader doesn't make decisions based on fear. The audience listened carefully. A strong leader doesn't abandon principles for approval. Reporters began typing. And a strong leader doesn't walk away from someone extraordinary because others are uncomfortable. The room froze. Ethan continued. Over the past year, I've watched people judge a woman they don't know. His voice remained steady. I've heard assumptions, insults, and criticism. I remained fixed on him. They called her wrong for me. He paused. They mocked her. Another pause. But they never understood what I understood. The room felt completely still. Maya Brooks is one of the most intelligent, compassionate, courageous people I have ever met. Emotion entered his voice. She challenges me. She inspires me. She makes me a better man. Some audience members exchanged glances. Others smiled. And then Ethan said the words nobody expected. 3 weeks ago, Maya became my wife. Gasps spread through the crowd. We got married quietly, surrounded by people who actually know us. The room exploded with reactions. Shock. Applause. Disbelief. Emotion. Ethan smiled. And it remains the best decision I've ever made. For a moment, years of expectations seemed to collapse all at once. The billionaire CEO had married the black woman they mocked. Not secretly out of shame. Openly with pride. And he wasn't apologizing for it. He was celebrating it. The days following the announcement transformed more than anyone expected. The predicted disaster never arrived. The company didn't collapse. Investors didn't flee in mass numbers. Customers didn't disappear. Instead, something surprising happened. People began sharing their own stories. Employees spoke openly about feeling seen. Families discussed prejudice. Communities reflected on assumptions they carried. Messages poured in from around the world. Many came from people who spent years feeling judged or excluded. They saw something meaningful in Ethan's decision. Not because he was wealthy. Because he used his platform to stand by his values. Meanwhile, Maya continued living much as she always had. She remained focused on her nonprofit work. She continued mentoring students. She continued refusing to let public attention define her. One afternoon, a teenager approached her after an event. "I saw what people said about you." Maya smiled softly. "So did I." The girl hesitated. "How did you handle it?" Maya thought for a moment. "By remembering that other people's opinions aren't the same thing as my identity." The student nodded slowly, clearly absorbing every word. Moments like that reminded Maya why courage mattered. Not because it silenced critics. Because it inspired others. And Ethan noticed something changing within himself too. For years, he had feared vulnerability. Now he felt freer. Stronger. More authentic. Not despite his choice. Because of it. As time passed, Ethan and Maya began collaborating on larger initiatives. Together, they expanded educational programs across multiple cities. Technology centers opened in underserved communities. Scholarship opportunities increased. Thousands of students benefited. People who once focused solely on their differences started noticing their shared mission. They weren't trying to prove anyone wrong anymore. They were too busy building something meaningful. One evening, they visited a newly opened learning center. Children filled the room. Laughter echoed through the hallways. Computers hummed. Teachers guided students through projects. Maya watched proudly. Ethan stood beside her. "Remember our first meeting?" he asked. She laughed. "The conference room? You challenged half the people there." "Only half?" They both smiled. Then Ethan looked around the center. Hard to believe this came from that conversation. Maya squeezed his hand. "Some things start small." He nodded. The statement applied to far more than the center. It applied to them. A simple conversation. A growing friendship. A relationship tested by criticism. A marriage built on conviction. All of it began with two people willing to see beyond assumptions. Years later, people still discussed Ethan's announcement. But not for the reasons critics expected. The story wasn't remembered as a scandal. It became remembered as an example. An example of choosing character over comfort. Love over approval. Conviction over fear. The same people who once mocked Maya often found themselves forced to confront an uncomfortable reality. They had been wrong. Not because Ethan became unhappy. Because he became happier than ever. Not because Maya changed herself to fit their expectations. Because she never did. She remained exactly who she was. And that was enough. More than enough. One evening, Ethan and Maya stood together watching the sunset from their porch. No cameras. No headlines. No public speeches. Just peace. The kind Ethan once believed success would bring. The kind Maya always understood came from living honestly. He looked at her and smiled. "Funny how many people thought this wouldn't work." Maya smiled back. People don't always recognize something good when they first see it. The sky glowed gold across the horizon. And for the first time in a very long time, Ethan felt complete. Not because he had found perfection. Because he had found partnership. Real partnership. The kind built on respect, trust, courage, and love. The kind that changes lives. Including his own. Have you ever seen someone judged unfairly before others truly knew them? And do you think more people would choose courage over public approval if they knew the cost of staying silent? Share your thoughts in the comments below.